early as ever. We're back here for another WrestlePurists podcast. We will soon be joined by the famed, as of about 20 minutes ago, slightly controversial Hollywood Hangman Adam Pearce. Still not sure on what the podcast shorthand is for the famed Hollywood, but I guess we're going with Hollywood for now.
Monty, he was here. Huh? He was here. We had him. We had him. We had him. He was here. Like, he was like, I'll be back in 15 minutes. This was about 19 minutes ago. Precisely. Well, you know, we're here. He should be here momentarily.
Yes.
You know, I know many people have come here and packed the house just for him. They won't have to wait too long. Yeah. Oh, there you go. You know. That's why he's here. That's why we put up with his lateness. It's why.
Well, I see how much you paid him last month, and
there you go. Yeah, we make a loss. We make a small loss, but it's it's worth it. It grows the brand.
Brother, let me tell you something. Those fines don't mean an awful lot when you're getting paid the way he is around here. But it's another conversation for another day. Monty, should we get into the news here while we wait for our esteemed guest? What do you think? Should we get into that? Many exciting stories today.
Yeah, so exciting. Yeah, go for it.
Well, we do actually have a big story. I don't know how kind of fun it will be in audio form, but there is a big story that's broke here in this last couple of hours. Stephanie McMahon is not going to be doing the gig that she's been doing as of late in WWE, what that actually means, I do not know. Monty, have you got the tweet there? Pulled it in front of you.
Was it? I didn't think she was doing fuck all anyway. Anyway,
this is where I love this because listen, if this is a big deal to you, then that's that rules, and I do get that it represents certain things, and that's like interesting, I guess. But I read this and was like, what? Like, what am I supposed to feel for this? Like, what does this mean to me? I don't know. Go ahead, Monty. I'm sorry. Read the tweet. Go ahead.
As of tomorrow, I'm taking a leave of absence from the majority of my responsibilities at WWE. WWE is a lifelong legacy for me, and I look forward to returning to the company that I love after taking this time to focus on my family.
Good. Fair play. Yeah, good to her. I mean, it's like, I'll be honest. I mean, I don't really know anyone would truly, but like, I don't have any strong opinions on the human being Stephanie McMahon. Do you? I don't see why.
I like Stephanie, to be honest. I'm not sure if there's anything overly incriminating that I should know about her, but I like Stephanie. Obviously, I recently watched the whole Attitude Era, and she played. I thought she played that role of like the boss's daughter, the little spoiled brat. Like, I thought she played that so well. Yeah, I've always liked Stephanie, man. I've always liked Stephanie, and obviously she takes probably a bit too much credit for the women's revolution.
Maybe a little bit.
But she did contribute to it. So
she did.
So
I do think it genuinely matters.
I do like.
I don't know how kind of hands-on she was with the movement, but I do think it matters. I think it was like, I don't think she's being totally insincere with the fact that it popped her. That was the thing that happened. Like, let's be honest. Think about the dude that was behind most of that from a creative point of view. Like, I think it mattered to them. But as you say, maybe a little bit too front and center. By maybe we mean definitely too front and center. It was annoying. But
she's on what was that list that she was on? Like, I don't think it was Forbes, but it was like some big professional website. And it was like most influential women in sport or some shit like that, or in the world. It was somewhat crazy, bro. And she was like on the list.
That's got to be the dream, right? Like being on one of those weird lists that like no one actually cares about until they're posted. But like, could you imagine coming in like 89th on like most dynamic podcast personality, bro? I would fucking live on that, That'd be behind me for the rest of my career. It would rule. Yeah, that was a thing, and I don't know. Hopefully she's well, and hopefully she enjoys the time away from the World Wrestling Federation. Am I right? It's about the best as you can do to conclude this situation, Monty, unless I'm missing something. I mean, I know that Twitter has had an interesting time with this, but it's difficult.
I think there was Stephanie McMahon taking leave of absence from WWE. Apparently, some of the wrestlers didn't know about it. Well, some of the wrestlers and staff didn't know about it until Steph tweeted about it. So,
I mean,
how often do you think she was actually there, like in the thick of it? Like how we all imagine Vince there with his little headset on and shit. Like, how often was like? I'm not saying that obviously Stephanie isn't in that position anyway. But I'm just talking like in their day to day, like going 100%. Like she's probably just chilling at home, man. Like not at home, but like I doubt she's doing anything overly stressful. Triple H just nearly died, bro. Like
yes, yeah. In all seriousness, that God bless them. We'll leave that there. We'll leave that there. That's what the best way to handle this is a serious wrestling podcast.
Stephanie's good people.
Yeah, seems like it. I will say though, to your point, I think that about almost everyone that works. Like, it fascinates me what these people do week to week. Like, that Tony Khan quote that everyone dunks on, what do they do on the weekends? Like, all bits aside, Monty, you've probably heard me say this in another podcast. What does Bruce Pritchard do during the week? Like, is he just like plotting like Happy Corbin segments for SmackDown, like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? Like, what does he do in the meantime? I don't understand this.
Probably not enough.
Your response to that really was nothing.
That's what it's like with all these guys, man. I don't know what to do. Not creatively. It's like, Tony Khan did have a point with what he said, but because it's Tony Khan saying it, some people anyway, got mad about it. So, what are these people? What are they doing? Does anyone in the chat know? Does Joe know? Do I know? No, we don't.
It's just, you always hear, right, that it's a 24/7 job, right? He can call you at any moment. It's like, but to talk about what? There's no angle. It's not like they're doing these sort of grand, it's not like they're writing the latest series of Better Call Saul. They do like wrestling. They're like, well, we'll do,
Where the fuck's Hangman?
He wrestled Takeshita last night. I don't know. He's a hell of a talent. You have to part with this stuff, Sons. It is what it is.
You know what? It'll just make it more dramatic when he makes his entrance.
I actually think his bit around here should be that he tries to sharpen as many of these as humanly possible, but is never there at the start. Never there for like the formal. He lets us get the boring stuff out of the way, and then he pops in when it's time to talk about Kyle O'Reilly versus Ray Phoenix or whatever. But which we'll get to. We'll get to Dynamite in a second. Yeah, that's the Stephanie McMahon business. Couple other things. Monty, there was a great degree of fear this morning that the American Dragon Bryan Danielson was in fact injured. His career had been cut short by the fatal ramp accident. It appears this was not the case, and that, as he often does, the American Dragon Bryan Danielson was having a little bit of fun with this whole situation. Is that the case, Monty? Am I correct in that regard?
According to Brian Alvarez this morning on Observer Radio, apparently so. So, last night, obviously, as many people already know, AEW were filming Rampage directly after Dynamite. Something happened, like, the Blackpool Combat Club and Eddie Kingston, etc., all got into a brawl with the Jericho Association Society. And amongst all the chaos or whatever it was, Brian seemed to have got his leg trapped in the middle of the ring and of the stage, and there's obviously videos going around of fans at the event who were recording it on the big screen, and we could see Brian wincing and selling it, and it looked like he had his leg fully trapped in there. And so obviously this morning there was kind of like a lot of confusion, a lot of people saying, I hope Brian's all right, blah blah blah, all that good stuff, trying to be nice people. And and latest update from Brian Alvarez on the Wrestling Observer Radio, it appears this was all a work by Danielson. And the direct quote from Alvarez is, I'm strongly given the impression this was all a work from start to finish, but I suppose if we hear otherwise, we'll let you know tomorrow. But I think he just came up with a wacky idea and thought it'd be funny. If you watch the video, it looks like Moxley and everybody are there. I mean, they don't seem overly concerned. They appeared to be playing it up with him. And I was told by somebody there that they actually laughed about it. So I think one way or another, we can tell you that he's not appeared to be injured, and I think the whole thing was a work.
I've heard some stories in my time, Monty, but this has got to be one of the great news bulletins of our time, right? Perhaps the greatest wrestler to ever live, injured in freak accident, turning into the greatest wrestler to ever live, just owning everyone and having some fun. It's weird, though. I don't know. Obviously, I saw like a bit of the video, and it seems like it's good news, which is that Danielson's fine, and that's the main thing here, right? I mean, that would be terrible if he actually was injured. So
yeah, the main thing from the quote, obviously, Danielson and AEW haven't directly confirmed it officially or anything, but the main quote is, that Alvarez was told by somebody there that they all laughed about it after. So, I don't think if Bryan ripped his ACL apart, I don't think many people would be backstage laughing about it. So,
yeah, I saw Shoot text me that someone described it as like, when wrestlers are trying their best to throw someone out of a Royal Rumble match, but not really, and kind of edging them one way and edging them the other. I did like that. I did like that comparison, but he's the man. I'm glad that he appears for well. I hope he is, so on and so forth. Okay. Are there any other topics here we should tackle before we get to Dynamite? Obviously, we hope and we assume that the great backup Hangman, Hollywood Hangman Adam Pearce, will be here.
We should have got a countdown to Hangman, like the countdown to Cody on Monday.
That would have been good, actually. Yeah,
I need to get one of those created somehow because he's always late. So
I respect it though. It shows some sense of like. To me, it shows levels of the game, and he's immediately made it clear to us.
Oh, there's an update.
There's an update. Oh no!
He said, "Give me 3 minutes. Deepest apologies."
Rules. All right. Well,
I love pretending to be professionals.
Here's a good question, Monty. What on Dynamite would he least like to talk about? And then we can kind of fill in the gaps.
Because
I want to hear his thoughts on the incredible.
I need to get it all. What even? I don't even want. I shouldn't say that as a professional podcaster.
You shouldn't, but I know where you're going with it. Obviously, I want to save the Jokers.
Oh the Jokers is definitely a topic.
It
is definitely a topic to get into.
It's a topic I think he'll thrive on, frankly.
You see, Adam. Let's talk about this before we get into Dynamite. Do you see Adam Cole's like little call-in for Roderick Strong?
Yes, bullshit. No, he attacked me like that on Twitter.
God bless them.
It
made it to the website. I think some people who have seen the website know I'm kind of we don't cover absolutely everything, but if something pops me, I try to get it on there.
Roderick Strong stuff.
Roderick Strong stuff is at the top of that list. So
he's gonna get out eventually, man.
Of course he is.
It's just
after he finishes this Creed Brothers angle. What the fuck are they gonna do with him? They'll cut the losses and get rid of him.
The Creed Brothers are
amazing.
Oh my god! Like, I'm not even saying they're like good. They're just one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in wrestling. They're like peak meathead wrestling. They're like just throw guys. They look like they endanger themselves at every turn. They're extraordinary. There's something special with those fellas. I don't really think that's the promotion to unlock it, like main roster WWE.
Someone said it was Steiner Brother-esque in the sense that, like you said, it's just meathead throwing people around. Yeah. Obviously, the Steiners. Like, let's be honest about the Steiners as well. Like, I'm not saying the Creed Brothers are fucking the Steiners in ring or anything, but the Steiners were, they were great in the ring, but I can imagine wrestling them was a very scary experience.
They looked like they were rough, right? They wasn't,
Bro, they would just drop you on your head. They would just fucking throw you around.
Yeah, it's interesting. I genuinely don't think it's a bad comp. I know everyone gets mad about it because, like...
Yeah, because it's just Steiner Brothers, bro. Like, some people's favourite tag team ever.
There is
understandably, though. I love a good meathead tag team. I just like, like the two big boys together, but it works. Like, I like AOP, which we'll get to. I always liked the idea of AOP.
What's their new name?
The Legion of Pain.
LOP. What's better? What else could be done? Authors of... They should have kept authors. Authors, that fucking rules, man. Do you remember Paul Ellering used to have like books and shit? Like they're like literal authors. That fucking rules. Like, imagine if we were like the authors of podcast grins. That's
the authors of wrestling.
The authors of wrestling. Imagine that's what the Blackpool Combat Club was called. The authors of wrestling. Regal carries around books and shit and does those promos.
He'd make it work.
Well, I don't know. I've swayed on that. On the Regal can make anything work take after last night. I don't know. I don't know. We may have to revisit that one. I'm not sure.
probably less of the pencil talk.
It was such a weird choice.
No, toothbrush, not pencil. It's toothbrush.
Yeah,
it was a choice, man.
Why would you have him do that? Like they're doing this thing where it's sports entertainers versus like serious violent men. I know Regal's comedic, but that weren't the time, right? Like
creative freedom, brother.
Yeah, the worst enemy of the professional wrestler. Yeah, it's fair. It's that segment. It was like a few good minutes in that segment, and it went like 15. Bro, Jericho, like, I love the appreciation society stuff. Jericho legitimately talked for like what felt like years in that segment. He was going round and round. He was going for each It was a little much.
He led it. He directed it. You could tell, like, even the bits that like when Daniel Garcia got on the mic, it was like he just went to him real quick, like, "Yo, here's something."
Yes,
like, here's Mike. Here's your time. Like, he like conducted that whole thing, and here he is, Mr. Hollywood, making his grand entrance.
What's up? What's up?
Look at that sound. Like we're on ESPN radio, folks.
Yeah, how's everybody doing, man? Listen, my deepest apologies to the WrestlePurists audience for my lateness. This is worse than usual. I don't even know how long we've been live here, but I'm here. A couple hours, maybe. Yeah,
it's no biggie.
I mean, I guess Monty was right with the 98% chance I'm going to be late. But listen, I'm here and I have a new microphone, so that's cool. I'm going to listen to this back and see how I sound because I've not even tested this out. You guys have been talking about Dynamite?
We just started, and in fact, we were just talking about the Jericho Combat Club, that whole deal, that segment.
No, boy.
And we were talking about it was a little bit long, and by a little bit I mean about 10 minutes long. What did you think of the segment?
It was a funny segment in the sense that it was kind of awkward, and it went on a bit long, and you could see Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley visibly annoyed at how long the segment went. Like Mox, you could see in his face, he was getting like WWE flashbacks, and with like he just because he started just kind of shaking and like hunching over like he was getting itchy, you know what I mean? And with Eddie, like that guy was just like, but what are we doing here? But we are just talking, and it's actually one of my favorite bits in AEW is if you notice Eddie Kingston, like he just when segments start to go long, like he just gets the mic and just like he's just like, but fuck, let's get to the point. And so he was like, he got the mic and was like, bro, what, we're fighting 5-on-5? Like, let's, like he went right to the thing. So yeah, I mean, the segment itself, it was kind of whatever. It very much felt like Tony was like, listen, these are veterans. You guys figure it out. You guys figure out how you build to your 5-on-5 match. But it was very clear that there was very little planned out or even mapped out amongst each other because the conversation kind of got aimless between Jericho and Regal, you know, and then Jericho tried to reroute by saying, well, look, this is going to be about a match, right? And Moxie didn't even know what to call the match that they're going to have. He was like, anything goes, whatever. It almost felt like a live creative meeting on television. I almost feel like because of the type of people that Mox and Eddie are, I feel like they're the type of guys that, you go to them backstage, like, okay, what do you want to say? And what do you want me to say? And they're the type of guys to say, man, fuck it. We'll figure it out, in the ring. You know what I mean? Like Mox was the type of guy to be like, bro, why are we talking about what we're going to say to each other? Just fucking, we'll, let's just talk. It is what it is. So, that's almost the magic of live television and unscripted promos. Sometimes you get things like this where it's a little rough around the edges, but, ultimately I prefer it over a scripted interaction. So, the segment was fine, I suppose. My thing, and I put this on Twitter, my thing is, we've had a lot of multi-man plunder matches in AEW, and so the prospect of just seeing 10 wrestlers brawling around the ring with garbage cans and kendo sticks doesn't excite me that much. But if anything, this is a plunder match of Bryan Danielson, and he is a genius, and I trust in him to make this feel different from the rest, if anything.
Yes.
So, it's going to be really good because Danielson's involved. So that's kind of where I stand with that.
Yeah, I actually agree. I'm kind of torn on this deal where I think they clearly want to do Blood and Guts as a TV special. And this is like their bridge.
Yeah.
I think it's going to drive people crazy, but it feels to me like the Hills are going to win this one because of Danielson and King fighting, which is going to be that's going to be a discourse, as they say, the day after.
100%.
My one thing on this segment was, like, this felt like two ideas put together. If you want to do Regal and Jericho going face to face, do that as a pre-tape with JR or Shivani in between them. You know, like Regal is awesome. I'm not sure this is necessarily the format for him.
He was kind of off in the segment, in a way that's very uncharacteristically him. Like he didn't really know where this was going, and so he was just kind of going where Jericho was taking him. And then Jericho realized, like, I'm taking him in a direction completely away from what this is supposed to be, and he just kind of changed. Like, he was just like, all right, bro, this is a match 5-on-5. Somebody take control here. So I agree. You know what? I said this recently too. Having a feud where you have the JAS and now you just insert the most anti-sports entertainment wrestlers in the company right now in it, kind of last second like this. There's actually a lot of different ideas to explore with this dynamic, and not enough time to really explore it for this pay-per-view specifically, right? So that's kind of why you're probably seeing a lot of ideas being melded here, because quite frankly, when this tag team was proposed by Bryan Danielson to Jon Moxley on television, one of the young wrestlers that Danielson proposed, in terms of guiding and leading, was Daniel Garcia. And to me, one of the natural things that can be explored with this dynamic is just the fact that one of them could bring up that they're corrupting Daniel Garcia, Chris Jericho, that is. There's so many different things you could do with this whole story. And, Monty's, I think it was Monty who said, like, they're probably saving Blood and Guts for a special. I presume so, because I don't see this being a storyline that ends at Double or Nothing. There's too much really to exploit there. There's that, Eddie Kingston and Danielson aren't on the same page fully. That's a perfect opportunity to see these guys rematch on TV and almost fight out their differences. So yeah, that's kind of.
I will say, and this is kind of a big picture thing, and maybe a better topic for another day, because we have a lot to talk about Dynamite.
Yeah.
But that point you made about there's a lot to explore here, and they haven't got a lot of time to do so.
Yeah.
I personally think that is one element of AEW that consistently frustrates me, in that I think they touch stories and very seldom truly explore them and maximize them. I actually think, and look, we have a week left and they could feud beyond the pay-per-view. I think there's elements of that with Punk and Hangman, and I love the stuff they're doing.
Yeah.
But and look, this is purely fantasy booking, and I was talking about, I wasn't saying, I was saying to my audience, I was like, I'm not saying the build's bad. Man, I'd be doing some, training camp pre-tapes. I'd be doing some sports style. To me, it just feels rigid the way they do these stories. Monty is. Go ahead, Hangman. Go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say. I'm sorry. I was going to say that's a good point in this sense. I was watching what they did this week, right? Where, have you guys talked about the Hangman Takeshita match yet?
No, we're gonna get to it in a second. Go ahead.
Okay, so then I'll save everything there. But in terms of the general build, I'm happy with what I'm seeing. Like, everything, what I'm seeing between the two is all good shit. And CM Punk, he knows how to promote a fight, and which is why everything he's saying, it's very sports based, and it leans towards just you as a viewer wanting to see him tangle with Hangman. So that's all well and good. But AEW noticeably has gotten into a new habit that they didn't have before. Before the pandemic, AEW would do these long form 8-9 week builds to their pay-per-views where you just finish one and then you just began the build to the next one almost immediately after. And what they would do is they would just they tell the story slowly, but they plot it out in a way where you essentially knew the card of the next show 2.5 months ahead of time, right? What's happening now is you get the pay-per-view's out of the way, and then it's very much just prioritizing week to week good wrestling programs. And then maybe a month and a half out, you have a vague idea of 2 or 3 matches. And then we kind of figure out the rest of the card in the final 2 to 3 weeks, and it's almost like, I get not wanting to start a build for a show 3 to 4 months out, because that's too long, right? But it's in waiting now. I've noticed like they're getting into a habit where it's like they're starting it too late now. You know, so that's kind of what I'm seeing with this Double or Nothing.
It is a habit too. That has been a thing now for a while.
A couple
and and I think people push back on it fairly because I think there is an argument the TV is more dynamic for leaving it kind of loose. But it does create this element where the pay-per-view doesn't feel like the kind of crescendo. Instead, it feels like a stop along the way and we're going to put some stuff together.
Do you know what promotion did that? WCW.
Well, yes.
Now, obviously, their pay-per-views aren't the quality of AEW pay-per-views, generally speaking, but they did that where it was like TV was the priority, and it was just like they figured out a card for the pay-per-view like right as the pay-per-view was kind of coming. And then the pay-per-view's out of the way, and it's like, all right, well, back to prioritizing TV, So
it's interesting. Monty, where are you at on the kind of? And again, we'll get into it more as we go here through the weeks and months ahead. But the idea that while they tell stories and many of them are compelling, they very seldom really fully capitalize on something. Maybe the best example where they did was maybe an MJF CM Punk, where it felt like you knew every detail of their story.
Yeah.
Do you think that's an evident thing in your kind of enjoyment of the product?
To kind of touch on what both of you have said, it's Tony Khan is a new wrestling promoter, like even still, and obviously because he's had a lot of hits so far, a lot of people put him on this pedestal, and like I said, and a lot of these people forget that he's still new to this, he's still trying to find his balances, and to go to Hollywood's point, it's before the pandemic they were doing these long builds, you could kind of sense where the pay-per-view was going about 9 weeks out or so, and now it's like it feels like you don't really get any meat until about 3 weeks out. So it's just kind of like finding that right balance. And I feel like if they're going to go down this route where the pay-per-views don't feel like it is the accumulation of stories and stuff and the end of stories and all that sort of thing, but they're not kind of what they were pre-pandemic. In terms of like the feel towards them and how they're built up and the time put into the stories leading to said pay-per-views. If they're going to go down more the short-term route, don't you think they should probably do more pay-per-views than just the 4?
That's the thing, it's a weird system for 4 pay-per-views. Generally, when we think 4 payper-views, we think of this idea that you have these arcs for each quarter. But maybe we're outdated in that regard. I don't know. Go ahead, Hollywood. Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's true. You definitely mitigate and ease this issue by just doing more pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And I know people are a bit hesitant to embrace something like more pay-per-views because then you don't want a situation where you devalue the shows.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that, but you could make up the pay-per-view money by just kind of lowering the price of the pay-per-views by doing more. It doesn't have to be 2017 WWE where you had like 8 SmackDown pay-per-views and like 8 Raw pay-per-views and like Big Fours, and it doesn't have to be pay-per-views every 3 weeks. You could do we're at what, 4 a year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You can make it. You can make it 7 or 8.
Yeah.
I think you make it 7 or 8. You kind of bridge this a bit easier.
I think 6 is a sweet spot.
6 is a sweet
every 2 months.
Well, I mean,
every other month.
This is the thing, though, is the Forbidden Door that is going to be a factor. The other big elephant in the room here is Ring of Honor, because like a lot less people bought that Ring of Honor show, but they did a pay-per-view in April. They're doing this one. I know it's not AEW, but like, let's be real, it's
they still have to produce it and put it on, and you know what I mean. And
that worries me to begin with. Like. What? That was we're all excited about Forbidden Door, but that kind of was like a part of the story that went under the radar. They just like announced that that's just another pay-per-view they're doing like 4 weeks after Double or Nothing, and it's just kind of.
To be honest though, I'd imagine that the second Double or Nothing's done, I'd imagine that the TVs leading to Forbidden Door are almost New Japan X AEW mini super shows on TV. I tweeted basically that like I would like to see. Crossover matches that aren't quite pay-per-view level, but involve talents of both promotions. And I actually think they're going to do something like that because already on Dark, we have Shibata's LA Dojo cats are working with the Factory, and I could easily see, maybe presumably that making it onto TV, if not that, stuff like that, So.
Well, for example, perhaps in the lead up to his match with Jon Moxley, Hiroshi Tanahashi wrestles Eddie Kingston on AEW Dynamite. You know, perhaps just an idea that I threw out there on a whim. Not something I've been thinking about for a while now. You know,
keeping you up at night.
Keeping you up at night, staring at the ceiling, just praying to the heavens for.
I got this vision of King like throwing a chop and selling his hand, and it being dragon screws, and he's selling. Anyway, this is a different topic for another day. Right?
My man Joe's reading his diary out loud.
Bro, it's this very. If you know me, you know
the pages.
Yeah, right.
Most professional wrestling matches, I simply watch so I can talk about them. Yeah. That one would be something different, you know. That would, it's just a little different, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
It's rare that happens, man. Like, you touched on it in your in that Briscoe's piece that you wrote.
Yeah,
it's like that was like the last time I felt like that. You know, it's like phone down, phone off. No one talked to me.
That was breathtaking, brother.
Yeah. Nah, I totally get that, man. Like certain matches, it's just like I'm not gonna tweet during this. I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna watch it, and then whatever I gotta say about it, I'm gonna do it after I'm done watching this match.
I'll never forget when they got in the ring and they were doing the "This is awesome" chant, and they went like nose to nose. Well, I just stood up for no apparent reason. I was on my own. I just stood up and was like, "Here we go!" That was special.
The natural human reaction. I want to toss out before we move on. One wrestler who's immune to this recent phenomenon of haphazard, if not last second pay-per-view builds, is MJF. And I don't know if it's because he has a heavy hand in plotting out his stuff. I don't know if Tony Khan he has a good rapport with MJF when it comes to just laying out and plotting his stuff. Whatever it is, whatever the secret formula is, he continually has these stories that just they're paced pretty well. They're paced very well. They're plotted very well. They don't feel like they're really dragging at any point. Whether you're at the start, middle, and or end, it's very compelling every step of the way. And you don't feel like other storylines. You almost feel like, oh man, let's get to this point already. Or let's get to that, or oh, this is starting too slow, or we're rushing this. With MJF, it's like no, we were at the phase where you knew this was just an arc in the saga, but like the part where Wardlow is just crashing the show every week, and then you get from that to the Wardlow versus the Monsters of the Week, and then after that, it's now this part where Wardlow has to go through the trials, and it's just it's so good every step because it's like at every turn something else is being explored and exploited. Whether it just be heating up Wardlow and really strengthening him up, or showing his new wrinkles in his in-ring, or just getting the heat on him, or whatever it is. It's just really, really well handled, with MJF and his stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually think in some ways, while it isn't as dynamic because Wardlow is much more a kind of clean slate, this has been MJF's most cohesive build. This has not had one miss. There were elements of the Punk MJF deal like where I thought they tried too hard from a promo perspective.
Yeah.
This one's just flow, man. I think this is MJ. I mean, in all seriousness, like MJF 2022 has been incredible.
Yeah, he's been sensational.
He's done this
Joe, I literally tweeted this. I said that MJF has been one half of the two best feuds of the year so far for me, with CM Punk and now with Wardlow. And I would say that narratively, that this was as good as the CM Punk feud. Yeah. But it has a higher hit rate of angles. There hasn't been a single angle in this Wardlow MJF thing that's been anything under just like really good.
I agree. I say this is I think Wardlow's done a great job. He really has, but it can't be overstated the work MJF's doing opposite him here, man. Like it's
crazy.
It's nuts. Like last night basically Wardlow, and listen, it's a challenge, but he just had to no sell. MJF got the whole building.
I really wonder what Wardlow was feeling when he had to just kind of play it off and act like it was just nothing.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of the poker face there. You can see it a couple of times. The last one he actually registered, right?
The first one was fucking perfection though. Like he didn't even his face he didn't even flinch, bro. Yeah. Crazy.
That last one you saw, he was like,
good shit, man. Very and I love the way he looked at them after like the ninth one, I guess, and was like, one more. Well, I was just saying, fuck, you ain't getting me, bro. I'm not selling.
Exactly.
Now, we were talking about crossover dream matches only moments ago. And now we get to talk about
Alistair Overeem and Adam Scherr being the number one today.
That would be a good segue, but it would not be as good as shoot fighting extraordinaire Johnny Elite, who last night he came, he saw one Samoa Joe standing in front of him, a guy who his whole career has done like MMA influenced shit, and was like, well, let's trade fucking, forearms and super kicks in a really uncomfortable match where Joe looked actively mad from start to finish. This was Monty, you text me when he came out pop, and that's peak you, because you knew my reaction was like, what the fuck? What is this? But so he comes out and like, bless Johnny. I'm not, I don't want to but he was fascinating last night. What was he up to?
Listen,
that AEW, can I just say real quick, that AEW tweet epic. That AEW tweet was absolutely epic. They really added Johnny Gargano, bro. I thought it was fake, but then I started seeing everyone post it.
That had to be on purpose.
No way.
Why would you book this match? In all seriousness, why would you book this match?
I don't know. I got to be honest with you. So I didn't watch the show live, right? But I did get spoiled on this because I happened to check Twitter at like 8:03, and all I saw was not the right Johnny, and I'm like, and I didn't even seek out like who. I was like, they got John Morrison, didn't they? They got John Morrison, and mind you guys, I didn't even look up what his name was, but in my head I was like, this guy's showing up in AEW. He's probably gonna call himself Johnny Elite, and so I peek at the AEW's Twitter page, and I'm like, oh my god, they got John Morrison, and I just in the middle of work I let out like a gigantic laugh, like it was just I didn't know what to feel except just laugh really hard. Like it was just so funny to me, because frankly, my preference was Claudio Castagnoli, Cesaro, because he's awesome. But I did think, Samoa Joe, he probably shouldn't lose in this Owen Cup, number one, and so I don't really know how you book that. But I wanted Cesaro, didn't really want Johnny Gargano in that spot, and so I didn't really think of anybody else, frankly, at the time, And so when I saw it was Morrison, I was like, well, that's a really funny option. That if he's not signed, then it's no harm, no foul, really. So I just laughed, and watching the match, like it was just so funny, because like, how can you think of this as a stylistic match?
It's when Joe was on the outside and John Morrison was trying to position him, and it was like they got it on camera, like John Morrison being like.
Yeah,
bro, he done the dive and still missed, bro.
Yeah, he is so funny. Like Morrison, God bless this guy. Frankly, I thought he looked actually pretty bad yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
I thought it was pretty bad. I thought it was pretty bad. But I can't like get mad at it. Like he's just so funny to me. Like more because he strikes me as a guy who's very just like just very nonchalant and blasé and fucking about wrestling. Like he's just here to vibe, really. And so, like, he was just there, like, man, I'm gonna just do twists and tornillos, and if they land, they land. If they don't, they don't, man. Do your thing, Joe. And like you said, Joe just seemed kind of annoyed at this whole match.
He elbowed him in the face on the lockup.
About 2 minutes in, he quickly realized, like, okay, I'm just gonna chop and punch you, and I'll go to the finish when I go to the finish. And that's what happened. And I said this on Twitter. Morrison didn't look good. However, Samoa Joe right now is in a really nice groove where his aura's back. He has his aura back. Like he feels like a bad dude. You know what I'm saying? And so there's just this fury with how he wrestles right now.
The pop he gets for the muscle buster is
wrestling.
Fucking...
You know what, Monty? I always used to say this to you when he was a free agent. No one was talking about Joe, and I kept saying, listen. Wrestling fans love Samoa Joe. Yeah. Listen to their crowds when that dude comes out. And let's be real. He's feuding with Jay Lethal and the Goon Squad, man. He ain't doing shit on that show. He's Samoa Joe. He comes out, they do the Joe
him like he's the baddest dude on the show.
He's that dude. Crazy. Like he really is. I hope they get him in something more interesting soon. Honestly.
And I agree. And also, I'm even less interested in this whole Asylum story now that it seems like Gresham and Lee Moriarty were Control-Alt deleted out of the storyline. Yeah. Like those guys were Joe's buddies in this whole thing, and presumably it looked like those are going to be the babyface anchors of Ring of Honor. And out of nowhere, it went from Lee Moriarty and Gresham, two wrestlers that I really enjoy. Yeah. We went from them to like the best friends, And so I like my interest in that whole thing is really, really low.
I think we're gonna get. I think they're gonna do the lethal match in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kyle O'Reilly's gonna beat Joe. This is where I'm trending right now.
Okay.
Now, I think if you know, that's not an easy thing for me to say out loud, but I said it. I think O'Reilly is going to beat Joe. They established after the match here that they went after his arm, right? He won with an arm by Kyle.
You hate me, bro.
I think that's where we're going. And I think you know how they do this thing sometimes where in the middle of the pay-per-view they'll be like, here's the big match for Wednesday, and it'll be guys that are kind of spare. I think that's where they'll set up, like they'll announce Joe versus Lethal in LA. I think what they're doing with the best friends is the tag match is going to be Satnam Singh's debut opposite Joe, with Lethal opposite Joe and Orange Cassidy is I think what they want to do. And what that looks like, good luck to all involved. But I think that's where we're going. I just think, and someone's in the chat and I couldn't agree more. While you've got Joe healthy and he's in the groove we're talking about, there's some dream matches to cash in on. There's some blockbuster matches. Let's get this moving because I don't want to be left thinking, oh man, Joe spent the last 3 months of his career feuding with
Satnam Singh and Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt.
Exactly. It just feels and look, I'll be totally real. He's my favorite guy ever. I'm glad to have him back at all. It's great that he's but come on, man. It's not there's not waste this run, but that's just me.
For sure. Totally.
Monty, anything on that Johnny Elite Samoa Joe match? Anything else you want to add?
Samoa Joe's the man, bro. There's not really
absolutely.
I like the finish as rushed and everything because it was like Joe just smacked the shit out of him and hit him with a muscle buster.
Oh, bro,
that was great.
I'll be real. If Joe lost to Johnny Elite, you'd never see me again. I would never have done it. I say that like half jokingly, but there's a decent chance I just delete all social media and like text Monty, I'm out. It's done. It's finished. No more.
The picture of Alonzo.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
Okay, what should we get to next? The next Joker was Maki Itoh.
Yeah.
Yes, which we predicted, right? We actually, there was some signs because it was actually great. Last night we were talking about this, and Tony Khan said it was a debut, and Monty goes, "There's a really good chance he just used the wrong word," and I was like, "Of course, that's what it is."
He's done that. He did that with the Jay White situation.
Exactly. So we had Maki and Britt. Hangman.
Tony Khan.
What did you think?
Tony Khan, stop forgetting your lore, man. Stop forgetting your lore. Maki was on your promotion. This is not a debut. Come on. You said, what are my thoughts?
On the match. Go ahead.
I for over a year now, I've been really curious as to how a live American audience would react to Maki Itoh, and I'd have to say it was a rousing success from that standpoint because they're very receptive to all her gimmicks and quirks. And I've come to realize this a few weeks ago. The Joshi wrestling, not everyone, because it's not a blanket thing, but a lot of Joshi wrestling talents have very distinct and defined personas and gimmicks and things that they do. And so they almost are. They've displayed this ability now because of it to even in cold situations where they're just kind of thrown on TV. To just get over the course of their match. I've seen it with Yuka Sakazaki.
Yes.
I've seen it with Riho numerous times. And now we've seen it with Maki Itoh, where they're not regular TV regulars. They're not push talents particularly. They don't have all these vignettes that explain who they are. But they're very easy to read characters as you watch them perform. And that's an absolute talent that they possess. So we saw it again with Maki. She got over, which is what I was looking for. I didn't particularly think much of the match. I was just really watching to just see that specifically, like how does Maki Itoh get over? How does this work? And what I can say is at least so far so good from that standpoint. And Britt Baker advances. She's gonna be facing Toni Storm in the next round. Tony had a really cool walkout with her theme song. Yes. I think Tony looked sensational with shades and theme song and stuff. He looks like a rock star.
Jim Ross.
Yes, Jim Ross. Tony looks great. Yes,
what was the actual quote? Because it was something fucking hilarious.
It wasn't worse than that, but he's at a point now where like everything
he says. He's like Tony Storm.
He was like Toni Storm, well put together.
He didn't say. There's no way.
there are times in AEW where like women will walk out or like a certain camera angle. You'll just hear him under his breath just kind of go like, "Wow." God bless Jim Ross. Yeah, Tony does. I mean, looks like a star, man. Like coming out with the with a cool jacket and the shades and the theme song. She looks great. So yeah, that's kind of just all I think about that.
She should probably win the tournament, shouldn't she?
I agree. Who else would win it over her?
A lot of people are saying Brit because
why?
Oh no! Don't
because it's Brit. You know what I mean? But I'm not part of those people.
Well, here's the deal. She's already over. So like, I feel like she's the type of wrestler. I'm not saying that she needs to lose all the time, but she's the type of wrestler in AEW as a heel that she can lose and still be over in losing because she's Britt Baker, and she's established. Whereas Toni Storm, I think, is somebody that would benefit greatly from winning this. Now, with that said, I do acknowledge the possibility that Britt is going to win because Adam Cole is probably going to win the men's one. So, I could see the couples, having the, the
are we getting
or whatever.
Back to the men's?
Yeah,
it looks like are we going to get Cole versus Kyle?
I think so. But
is that what we're getting?
I think so. I'm not. I mean, look, this is
because why would you? Because what does that mean that Kyle's winning the thing? Like, why would you have Kyle go to the final just to lose to Adam? Like, I don't get.
Maybe that's.
But if you're gonna,
maybe it's a weird story quirk in this dissension thing with the elite. I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe it's
if you're gonna do the thing with Kyle and you're gonna have him beat Joe and you're gonna have him beat.
Maybe Kyle wins it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, but it feels like I don't. But like Hollywood said, I'm just getting the vibe that he's kind of like this is Adam's one. But if Kyle's going to the final with him, that kind of sways me a bit, which is a good thing, I guess, because I like it when I don't know who's going to win. So
I think I almost feel like Tony, he sees Adam Cole at a certain level and he wants to keep him at that level. And he's lost a lot of big matches recently, like to Hangman.
Did I just say Joe Cole?
You might have, yeah. Tony Khan sees Adam Cole at a certain level, and
people in the chat saying, "Oh no," because people are saying Samoa Joe Cole.
Yes, you're not the Chelsea winger. You're right. Carry on, Hollywood. This is Brit references are losing Monty's mind. Carry on as you were.
I was just gonna say, I feel like Tony almost wants to just give Adam this tournament to keep him at a certain level and give him a big win somewhere since he's lost a couple big ones. That's kind of all I had to say. I know.
There's no point me talking about it because I feel like an asshole, but it's just like I feel like a dick, but it's like
Joe. Could I rant right now the possibility and the idea?
The floor's yours, bro.
No, listen. Could I rant about the possibility of an Owen final being Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole?
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Man. It's just
absolutely. Will I feel really bad inside after I do it? A little bit.
It's one of those things where it's like I really struggle with Kyle because he was great on this show and like he seems like a great guy.
Yeah, man.
And he's obviously a great wrestler, but like having him be like a centerpiece of this, like something that I thought was going to be like an all-star tournament is kind of brutal for me. Yeah, I think the world of him. It's just I don't see him this way, man. I don't know.
I mean, that's not even my issue. My issue is not a matter of where I place Kyle O'Reilly on the totem pole.
Oh, I know.
I
avoided that.
yeah, right. No, my thing is more just number one, I have not seen a single Kyle O'Reilly Adam Cole match that I ever loved, and that's across 3 different promotions. I swear to God, I remember when I was critical of the NXT ones. I saw people go like, "Oh man, you got to watch the Ring of Honor ones, man, and the New Japan ones." And I'm like, those are mid too, bro.
Yeah, like it doesn't work.
They're not a great pairing, which is it is what they're just not a super great pairing. Despite heavily working with each other, so I don't really want to see that match. Number one, number two, like I don't know, man. To me, this is supposed to be a tournament honoring Owen Hart, and I don't feel the Hart-siness with this, like in the build up to this tournament, we saw like Dax just kicking so much ass on TV every week, having all this read that comment, seeing all this like Bret Hart adjacent wrestling, right? And I don't know, man. I just feel like I I feel like this was with the momentum Dax is building. This was leading into a direction that it just no longer is. Like once he got eliminated, like I totally understand. Tony wanting to have Cole be a big, get a big win here, but I almost feel like this should have been like Dax Harwood's tournament. Maybe I'm being delusional in saying that.
No, you're not. Because if the alternative is a Kyle O'Reilly tournament, then like, like seriously though, right? Like we can't pretend Kyle was like over. Like Dax is more over. So
and Joe, also, I don't want to be ultimately like it's really nice that they're doing this for the foundation and Martha Hart, and it's so great that she's embracing pro wrestling again. Like that's an awesome thing, right? And so just morally and spiritually, this is a lovely thing that AEW is doing, right? Mm-hmm. But purely from just a wrestling standpoint, watching this as a fan, I gotta say I'm mildly underwhelmed because one of my fears for the tournament was that this was just going to feel like any AEW tournament, like any other past prior eliminator tournament.
Indeed.
And there's really there's not much of a difference. There was no extra pop in circumstance for this. There's no difference in the present.
Where's the pink lights, man? Where's the pink ropes? Where's the special video package before the matches? Where's the fucking? Where is it, man? Where's the soul?
None of it. You know why there's none of that? Because that would take away TV time that he wants to devote to just fitting a sixth or seventh match on Dynamite. Frankly, to me, I would have liked to see a difference in the presentation.
It should feel different. It should be. Let's be honest, man. It should be something we look forward to every year. Owen, when the product changes for 2-3 weeks, and instead it's just these are some of the matches on the show are the Owens. Like, there's no me. It's a shame.
I was gonna say, and it's like I made a thread about that weeks ago because it's like, how am I supposed to care or look forward to a yearly Owen when really it's just a Dynamite match with a different label on it technically, and quite frankly, if I were to just squint my eyes and half pay attention, I wouldn't O'Reilly and Phoenix was awesome. But how it was awesome. But
it's something you'd get on Dynamite anyway.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's just what's the difference? You know what I mean? At least make the can.
At least the only thing we got really was like Darby versus Jeff.
But again, it's just that would have happened on a Dynamite anyway.
Eventually.
The problem for me is I don't, and this is like a dumb question because I get wrestling has to work a certain way.
Yeah.
But like when you have CM Punk on commentary, and I know people hate this talking point, but I'm sorry, it's just the way I feel. When CM Punk on commentary is like, everyone wants to be in this tournament, I couldn't get in it, and then Johnny Elite strolls out, it's like, what actually is it? Like, I'd have honestly preferred if they'd have just defined it as like a young lion tournament, that would have honestly been better for me. Instead, it's just like a mix of guys. It doesn't really have any.
A young lion tournament would have been
tremendous, right? That would have been cool. Also, considering that that Owen Hart during his time in New Japan was a very he wasn't a young lion, but he was a young upstart wrestler. I actually pitched that also months ago. I said that it would be great if the Owen final was something like a Garcia Wheeler Yuta type of final. Something that showcases and elevates, younger wrestlers in AEW. Again, they went in a different direction. They just threw some wrestlers together that weren't in programs for the pay-per-view, and they just had Dynamite matches that were good. Yeah. And look, that's going to float a lot of people's boats. I'm not, miserable about it. These are good matches.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm not miserable about it. I'm just saying, the fact of the matter is just purely from a presentation standpoint and in terms of making this feel as like epic as it could have been a bit more. We could have had an opening presentation. We could have had all the members of the tournament in the ring, for a ceremony.
Yeah.
There's so many prestigious Japanese tournaments to draw inspiration from when it comes to this. And it's just mildly disappointing that none of that was adopted. So that's just kind of what I have to say.
Yeah. I completely agree. And just to reiterate, because you kind of touched on there, and I think it's absolutely the case. This isn't about what it is. I think we all agree there's been good wrestling already, and there will continue to be be good wrestling in the last couple matches left.
100%.
It's about what could have been, and I think we all wanted this to be something unlike US wrestling television has seen before. Something truly influenced by those Japanese tournaments you referenced.
Yeah,
high hopes, man.
Instead it's just It hasn't broke from the full male. I mean, it just is what it is. I completely with you.
Yeah,
on that,
yeah. It's just Dynamite continued with an Owen Hart graphic on the Titantron.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'd be the first to admit as well that maybe I was a little bit over optimistic. Maybe, you know what I mean. But like when you hear like Owen Hart Tournament, and you know, obviously we know that they wanted to do something with the Owen Hart Foundation and Martha for a while as well, and it's just like, especially kind of like the Owen Hart standing amongst the wrestling community. You know, like the way we see him, like he's a proper, you know, wrestlers to say, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like when that Owen Hart tournament gets announced and it's like this big deal and they do the press release and everything, and it's like, you know, a nerd like me, my brain starts spinning, bro. Like I was like, let's do a USG one or some shit. Like that's what I'm thinking. But
and not just that, it's like, and I haven't hated. Well, I mean, aside from that one YouTube women's tournament, I haven't hated any AEW tournaments, but I've never loved a single one of them. And I think one of my hangups is this roster is tremendous, right? Yeah. And when my mind thinks of just what a tournament would look like with the roster of AEW, like easily at its full potential, you'd get like the greatest wrestling tournament of all time. But but like we're not even like remotely close to that, you know.
And let's be honest, this really like, what are the reasons for that? Like, you know, you said it earlier, and I think you're right, and I think this is what they think. You don't want to beat Samoa Joe immediately, but it's like, brother, if Bryan Danielson beats Samoa Joe in the first round of the Owen, there is no way anyone in that audience is like, well, that's my Samoa Joe fandom finished. You know, like it would be awesome. It should be an all-star tournament. I know it's hard. I wish it wasn't combined with the pay-per-view. I think that's limited it. I wish it was just a block of TV. You know,
a lot of the people in that are entered in it are just whoever's available that isn't in a program right now. You know?
Yeah, and in fairness, and this is the other problem. We'll move on after this. I'm sorry, folks. I know that we're really kicking the shit out of this thing, but seriously, here's the other problem. Let's imagine that Joe is going to the final.
Yeah.
As a Samoa Joe fan, I should be all in on the story of Samoa Joe trying to win the Owen. Instead, I'm focused on, you know, Sanjay Dutt and the gang on this side. He's wrestling. He's doing Ring of Honor 2015 rematches over here. It's like, it should be, if you're going to have guys in it, you know, go for it. But instead, they're kind of having their cake and eating it too. Like, you're right. Most of these guys are kind of spare parts. Mm-hmm. But meanwhile, he wins this match in the Owen, and immediately, like, I mean, within seconds, Lethal hit the ring to beat him up. Like, it lacks gravity. It's a real shame.
An angle for a Rampage match or something.
Yeah. It's a shame, and again, we're not saying it's bad. We're saying we wish it was better. That's all. Okay, let's look elsewhere here. This, you know, kind of, I want to get to the Hangman Punk stuff. Oh, yeah. Obviously, Hangman had a much anticipated match with Takeshita. Mm-hmm. It certainly delivered. I had some concerns they were going to kind of do like a mini version of what match people wanted. It kind of still, I mean, it wasn't like a 30-minute match, but man, he gave Takeshita a lot, and he was worth every bit of it.
He over-delivered what I thought it was going to be.
Yes,
we spoke about it yesterday, Joe. We thought it was going to be like probably a few minutes longer than, you know, CM Punk versus Silver, and kind of be Hangman's version of that. You know, getting him ready for the title match. But like you said, like you literally just said, you know, you're giving Takeshita a lot, man, and they had like a real match. Do you know what I mean? It weren't necessarily like the perfect dream match that would have went 35 minutes, like, you know, a lot of people thought not even thought, but a lot of people might have liked when they saw the graphic initially, but they still went out there and killed it, man. Like, how long did they even go? Like, and I ain't even like a stopwatch fan, but, you know,
when I was watching it, I assumed the same thing. I thought it was going to be, you know, maybe a 6-7 minute thing where they just, you know, Takeshita's going to get his stuff in a little bit, and then ultimately Hangman puts him away, and it's like a nice little taste of what you're going to get with Takeshita. I thought it was going to be something like that. And as the match started to build and get really, really
we're not saying it's bad. We're not saying that Owen's bad. It's not bad. It's objectively not bad.
Montel, you've watched enough Late Night Grin to know first rule of podcasting: do not fight with the chat.
I'm just saying, because I don't even want. It's not even necessarily with this explanation. Like, it's not saying, "Oh no, you're wrong. Fuck you." It's nothing like that. But we're not saying it's bad. We're just saying it isn't necessarily what we hoped it to be, but it's still good. But we was, like Hangman said, it's like it genuinely could have been the best wrestling tournament of all time. Like with that roster that they've got. So that's all we're saying, man. Like I said, it is good. But yeah,
Phoenix and Joe's just cracking up.
Bro, you got to realize I used to watch those. I used to watch those Fightful chats go by. You let them people talk.
It is what it is, right? Yeah. Look, man, it is what it is. What were we talking about? Oh, Takeshita. Yeah, the thing about it is, as the match started to really build and get really, really good, I was thinking like, oh man, I don't want this to end, and it's probably going to end really soon. And then it didn't. I'm like, oh, let's go. And then they start spiking each other in their heads with Germans and stuff. I'm like, oh man. And one of my favorite parts of this whole thing is they trade Germans, right? And then they lariat each other, and then they fall, and the crowd does a standing ovation, and it cuts to CM Punk, right? Who makes this defund purists. Is that Chris? Hey man. Listen, he's about to talk his way out of a max contract. But but it cuts to CM Punk, right? And he makes a face like, this shit is good. Like he makes like this match is great. Mm-hmm. It's funny because I made the same face, man. I going into this, I knew it was gonna be really good because Hangman, Takeshita is similarly sized to Hangman, yes. And they're both really mobile, really agile, just explosive big boys, right? And so of course they're going to work their ass off, and of course it was going to be great. I heard about how great this was before I even watched the match. I wasn't underwhelmed by what I saw. I thought it absolutely delivered.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I pointed this out on Twitter. This is like a wrestling trope in general, where like you're building to a match, the guy opposite of you in the program is on commentary, and then the other guy gets to win on TV, in the ring, and it's really the match is just the backdrop to the story, right? Like that's a wrestling trope. That's what we got yesterday. But normally in those situations, the background match isn't as great as Takeshita and Hangman was, And to me, that match was the background. Like frankly, it was almost wrestling white noise to me. And the forefront was what CM Punk was talking about, which was essentially getting over Hangman's wrestling ability while also plugging his match with Paige. And like I said, for a match that wasn't the primary focus really, except for maybe like the live audience, they absolutely tore it up. And when Ring of Honor was announced to be purchased by Tony Khan, one of the things that I pitched on social media was that I would love international talents on this brand. I think we should recruit guys from DDT because there's so many guys. And this is before we even heard about Takeshita going overseas, like go over to the States. I literally in my pitch was saying like, man, I'd love to see, Tetsuya Endo. I'd love to see Yuki Ueno or Takeshita kind of come over and just kill it here, because I seen it happen in Ring of Honor with the Dragon Gate crew. The Dragon Gate guys would come over and they just man. They'd bring what they did over over in their place over to the States and these indie environments in front of fans that would appreciate it. It was awesome. And so I'm really happy to see Takeshita get this TV exposure. I think I saw a tweet where somebody said, man, seeing a guy like Takeshita wrestle like this, it really just makes you just cry for the TNT title, because like, you know what I mean? Because it's just another high level guy having just high level matches. And it's like, this is what you should be seeing for the TNT championship, really. If there's anything that I would like to see more in this excursion from Takeshita, this is just my nerd fanboy dork request. So if you'd humor me, Yoshihiro Tajiri was originally from BJW, Big Japan Pro Wrestling, and he made it over to ECW in late '98. And when he first came over, he was still Japan Tajiri. He had the blue trunks, the blue plain trunks and kick pads, right? And very plain look. And he initially got over just doing what he did in Japan, just being a really superb worker, right? And that audience appreciated him just for his pure in-ring ability, right? And that worked initially. But over time, even though he was already over time, he began to mold and meld and show a lot of personality and quirkiness. And he changed his look and adjusted in terms of having a better understanding for American crowds and being able to work in front of them. And you saw him change his gear. He grew some facial hair. He kind of, he essentially perfectly and smoothly assimilated to wrestling for hardcore American wrestling fans, and Americanized himself in that way. And in doing so, he became an even more complete performer. And you know, we saw this also with Muda on his excursion, because Keiji Muda was a young lion and he became the great Muda in the United States. I would like to see Konosuke Takeshita, because he's in the BJW phase right now. He just came in straight from DDT, sick worker, doing all the stuff that got him over there. He's doing it in front of new eyes, and people are like, holy shit, this guy is terrific, right? I would love to see a slow transition into him. I don't know what it would even be. I don't know what it would look like or be, but I would love to see him become an AEW star, so to speak, if that makes any sense. Like right now, he's the DDT ace, being the DDT ace on AEW television. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
I think it'd be really cool.
The Ring of Honor part of it, I think, could be very helpful in that regard. You know,
yes.
I don't necessarily know if the way that TV is operating right now, they could fully do that with AEW TV. But if he's like one of the top guys in Ring of Honor and he also does stuff in AEW, I think you got a real chance of seeing exactly that. Like he was extraordinary. He got over huge with the live crowd. I will say quickly, and this is saying that I am guilty of myself. I always forget it. We probably like Hangman's name probably doesn't come up enough when we're talking about like the top in ring guys, because that dude's versatility and his ability to adapt.
He's sensational. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah, he absolutely is. He's special, and I think sometimes I actually think he suffers from how much range he has in ring. People don't know which box to put him in, right? They don't think of him as like a great technician. I more increasingly think of him as a great brawler, but I think because he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, does everything.
Yeah,
he like falls through the cracks when we talk about truly great wrestlers. He's one of them. He absolutely is one. I think he goes without saying at this point.
Unquestionably, man.
Yes.
Like such a great point, bro. People don't talk about Hangman in the conversation for best in the world, but it's like, man, this guy, he does not. When was the last bad Hangman Page match you have ever seen? Does it even exist in AEW specifically? I mean, you can argue maybe the Jericho All Out match, but that wasn't bad. It was just a bit underwhelming. But ever since he's gotten over to this degree, right? Because he wasn't at this level when he first started in AEW. But ever since he's gotten over to this degree with the cowboy shit and all that, and being a top babyface, he has a perfect record when it comes to just being excellent in his wrestling outings.
Absolutely, he is. He's been great as champ. I'm really intrigued by next week's segment, in-ring talking segment for Punk and Hangman. The crowd's reaction to it will be fascinating. It'll give us a preview of what's ahead.
Look at the reaction we had this week when they were on the ramp, and they were kind of, man, it felt big time, and I do hope that in this final in-ring segment they really, really, push this build over the top, in the same way that like if you guys remember, CM Punk and Eddie Kingston didn't really have a long build, but that one angle they did where they just kind of cut a promo and had a pull apart was so effective that it you didn't even need to do anything else, right?
It made up for a lot. That quality, quality of that angle made up for a lot.
You got a month's worth of just.
I felt like lost time.
Yes, and I would like something to, essentially to that level. Obviously you can't recreate that exact same thing because Eddie Kingston and Page are different characters, but I want an angle that effective in terms of really making you want to see this. I already think they've done a good job. I said this before. Double or Nothing, some of the build has been a bit last second, but I still think it's going to do a strong buy rate purely off the back of how big this match feels.
I think the build's been good, and I agree it feels massive. I love both guys. I wish they expanded the playbook slightly for this one. Give me something. Give me like a press conference.
Yeah. Oh man.
Give me something weird for this. Like.
I was going to say press conference.
It's very like within the play, but like next week we're going to do the face-to-face conferences.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It will be fine because they're both great.
I totally agree with you. I mean, do you guys remember they used to do? They kind of experimented with that with Cody Rhodes and some of his builds like 2 years ago.
Yes.
Yes, you're right. He did a press conference, I think, for Hager and maybe somebody else. And I love that stuff, man. Like, first of all, I like sports style presentation in wrestling, and CM Punk was doing sports style commentary because he's talking about the match, like he's scouting Hangman Page as somebody he's trying to defeat in a wrestling match. He's talking about it from that standpoint and doing it very effectively, actually. And I mean, one of the best bits actually on Dynamite. Like it's such a small thing, but Punk is so great at the little things, man. And I don't say this because I'm his burner, but like, man, this guy Page, he's doing the GTS, and Punk is just like cackling. Like I don't remember what he exactly said, but he essentially was like, oh no, he said like I got him.
Yeah, got him where I want him. Yeah,
I got him where I want him. He cuts him. He just has a grin like, yeah, I saw you did my move. Man. I got you, bro. Like, just stuff like that is so.
To me, that's the story here, and I think they've
competition. Man.
They've alluded to it.
Yeah,
but to me, the story is, in a lot of ways, Punk is outgunned. Right? Hangman is so dynamic. He hits so hard. He's younger. He's fresher. He's in form. He's like, look at the guys he's beaten. Yes. But Punk is of the belief that he has this know-how and he's under Hangman's skin.
Yeah.
And I think it's present. You can see it on the TV show. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they've truly put a magnifying glass on it. Now, to be clear, that could be because this is the first of 3 matches. I don't know. But it does go through my mind, I have to say.
That's a great point. Yeah, CM Punk is the savvy veteran that, no, he can't jump like Hangman does. He can't run like Hangman does. He can't. He doesn't have the power that Page does. But he's been doing this for a long time, and he knows how to win. It's like in sports, man. He just knows how to win games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he'll get to the. I'll use a basketball. He'll get to the free. He knows how to get to the free throw line. Mm-hmm. He knows how to hit big shots. And so for him, it's just like, yeah, bro, you can do all that dribbling, bro. But at the end of the day, bro, I'm CM Punk. I know how to. I've been there. Have you really been there? You've just gotten here.
And let's go further with that. We're in Vegas, bro. This is going to be, the fight capital of the world. Big flat
for
field,
real.
And honestly, man, like, oh man,
weigh-ins,
bro. Now that we're rolling it here, man, like, could you imagine if we had like almost an ESPN style panel of just AEW officials and Jim Ross?
This is what I'm saying, man. Yeah.
They've got the people to do it. So some of these people need something to do as well, bro.
Yeah, I was saying, like, bro. Literally, just imagine like you have on stage like Jim Ross, Shivani. Maybe whoever you want, Paul White and Mark Henry, whatever you want to do, and they're breaking down exactly what we're talking about here, which is just Punk is in his head, blah blah blah. But can Page do this? Man, he has this record in these matches, and this amount of matches were won with the buckshot, and Punk is skilled at doing the. You can break it all down, and man, you make this thing feel like just the biggest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, I just it's gonna feel big, but I just wish there was more of those ingredients. I have to say.
Yeah.
After last night, I think I feel all 3 of us for a minute now have all said, like, I think it's probably time for CM Punk to get that big belt.
Yeah.
But after last night as well, bro. Like, I don't know if you heard it, Hollywood, but on the Fight TV when they were in break, like random CM Punk chants just started breaking out in the middle of the Hangman match. Yeah. Then obviously the CM Punk chants during the face off, and it's just. Mm-hmm. A few weeks ago, I was like, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of leaning. I wouldn't say I'm fully swayed away from that opinion. It's a win-win if whoever wins. I'm not sure what the reaction will be if Hangman beats CM Punk, because it feels like the crowd is. It's been one of those feuds where you pick a side, and to me, it feels like a lot more people have picked the side of Punk than what was initially expected.
Yeah.
Hangman's still the man, but I was expecting more like a 60-40 split in Punk's favor.
Bro, I
think it's more like 74-25 at this point.
I told you this in my very first WrestlePurists podcast debut. I said, I am morally, physically, spiritually, humanly opposed to putting baby faces against each other in major title matches. For this situation, because at the end of the day, Hangman is a guy that you're still, even though he's a made man, kind of, you're still really trying to cement him, right?
Yep.
And they've successfully gotten him over in that role, but at the end of the day, he doesn't have the cachet, the time put in, the legacy that CM Punk has, and so you're putting the fans in a position to choose, and it's always problematic to do that because God forbid, and it's happening here. They're gonna choose the guy they're gonna choose someone like CM Punk, and you don't want a situation where in that match, because they choose CM Punk, you get people starting to boo Page, and that could just be, you could say, oh, that's just for that one match. They'll get out of it when he's out of that program. But we've seen situations where fans turn on a guy for a match, and it becomes an almost growing unfortunate trend for a guy, where it's like. let's say Page's offense gets booed, right? And he beats Punk, and people are like, oh man, damn, what the fuck, right? And then you go to the, going forward from that, you might have a situation where Hangman's, post Punk feud speech, some people are booing him because they just resent the fact that he beat their guy, and you put these people, you're almost calling to attention, people may be seeing like, oh, is this guy just overpushed, or maybe he's not really the guy. You just don't want to create these types of situations, and so you avoid it by just avoiding doing that match. So that was my thing, a month ago, and I think it's very much still a possibility that something like that happens. Because we're seeing.
I guess this is kind of a fair point.
Yeah.
So after this, you just immediately get Hangman in there with MJF.
Someone this man said, I already missed the tweet. Never mind.
I think there's something to be said for what Hollywood said there about you have to be very careful to make this fan that's on the fence that chanted Cowboy shit but wasn't fully invested, to make them resent the fact that he's beating all of the guys that that they prefer maybe. And I don't think Punk is the last straw. There was a time where I was kind of bullish on like just have Hangman as the ace and beat all these guys. Increasingly, it feels like it would backfire in the way that Hollywood just laid out. So I think there's a lot of factors at play. I will say, completely detour this conversation, but it's my bit, and I'm going to make it clear now. We all talk about how over Eddie Kingston is. That dude, do you remember when he feuded with CM Punk?
Yeah.
Now, Punk lent into it. We all know that. Like, Punk was aware of the situation. But I will never forget the end of the pre-show at Full Gear. They flashed the graphic for their match, and the whole place came up with Eddie chants. I'm not sure that same thing's going to happen for, Cowboy shit in a week's time. 9 days or whatever out now.
Yeah, that's what I mean, man.
And I think we may have, as hilarious as it sounds, we may have underestimated how unique a moment that was when the crowd picked Eddie over Punk, because I'm not sure it's going to happen at Double or Nothing. But we'll see. It'll be very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay. What else from Dynamite is worth tackling here? I'm looking at my notes. Monty, does anything stand out to you on the Dynamite front before we do some World Entertainment series of wrestling world stuff?
I'm just waiting for the Ream. I'm waiting for the Ream talk, to be honest, at this point. But yeah, Dynamite, it was an okay show. I didn't think it wasn't a blow away. It wasn't actively bad either, I don't think.
Yeah.
I had a headache. I had a headache for about half of the show, so it kind of threw me off a bit. But some stories got furthered, and
if we are
good wrestling.
If we are getting our final thoughts on the show, I do want to throw out that I heard that like the final again because I watched the shows late, so I
mentioned it earlier as well. The D promo.
Oh no, I don't have much to say about that. But I was going to say I don't have anything to say about that. I really don't. I don't know. What do you want to say, bro? No,
it's good.
It was something. What I want to say is actually, so I heard that the last 30 minutes of the show were shaky, and so I'm thinking, man, this Jeff Hardy Adam Cole match is going to suck, and I've been vocally not crazy about Adam Cole's work in AEW, and their match didn't set out to be as dramatic and epic and like big time and awesome and 5 stars or whatever like Adam Cole's other matches in AEW, like his matches with Paige, or Christian or whoever you want to point out. It didn't try to be that, and almost in doing so, and the fact that it was so succinct and short, and that it had nothing that annoyed me actively, unlike some of his other stuff. It may have been the singles match that Cole has had in AEW, like no stip, that I've enjoyed the most. Like ironically, I tweeted this and people thought I was insane, and I could understand why, because it's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like there's other matches where they did the near falls and the big moves and the kickouts and the shock faces and all that shit, but like a lot of those matches just kind of like irritated me. So like just seeing him just like jump Jeff Hardy like a dickhead and then just throw him around and Jeff just does his Jeff Hardy moves and he just fucking Shining Wizards him. Like I was like, yo, like this was kind of dope. Like
it was better than I expected. It genuinely was.
I liked that match. That was like, first of all, it was a trillion times better than what happened.
Nothing. I just said wow.
Oh yeah, no, I enjoyed this match. Like I dug the main event of Dynamite. To be also one more thing. I'm sorry, I know I talk so much, but people are against the idea of matches, not getting 15, 20 minutes or whatever. And I saw some people going like, "Oh man, there was so much on Dynamite. Like the main event only had like 8 minutes. Really, bro? 8 minutes is all you need with Jeff Hardy now."
That got me fired up, bro. Honestly, like when I saw, I was like, I don't want to be. Me and Joe talked about it yesterday.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want to be seeing Adam Cole getting the signal for the ad break and just locking on a headlock for Jeff Hardy for 4 minutes.
Yeah, and
just so we get a 12, 14-minute match.
Yeah,
just do 8 minutes, start it, do the fucking highlights, and get the fuck out of there. Like
that was an encouraging sign. I agree.
Yes, yeah, and look, for some wrestlers, 8 minutes is entirely too short. For certain wrestlers, they're very long form workers, and they do a lot of different things that it's worth seeing them for 20 minutes, right? But for this type of matchup, it was if you made this 15 minutes, it was literally gonna be the same match you saw, except tack on heat at the beginning of it for like 5 to 7 minutes. So no, just get to the boom boom.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was actually a positive sign that they did that, because I think they've been very rigid in match time. I think some people pointed out that they were just short on time, in which case it was a kind of happy accident in that regard.
Yes,
but
yes,
I'm with you. I think it showed some growth from booking perspective. Not everything does need. Like there was one recently, I remember talking about boring everyone with it, but like that Jungle Boy Kyle O'Reilly match, they give 14 minutes to, and it's like that does not need 14 minutes on a TV show. It just doesn't. Like that's an 8-minute match. They'll be fine.
Yes.
They
will be fine.
Yeah, it was. There was a lot of good on the show. I thought for some reason it lacked. It didn't flow the way Dynamite can. It didn't quite click for me. I will say, and I said this earlier on my review on the Grin, like part of it for me, and this is just me being as transparent as I possibly can be. Folks, you may disagree completely, and if so, good luck to you. I do struggle a lot with like the Undisputed Era being like central on this show is like kind of tough. And I say that like knowing it's not like an objective thing,
Yeah.
The truth of it is, to me, a lot of my wrestling enjoyment comes from who the actual guys themselves are.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're at a point where like we're like closing the show with like an Undisputed Era heat segment, it's like, man, this isn't necessarily where I want this thing to be. But that's just me. A lot of people love it, so that's a personal thing, perhaps.
I was surprised at how fine I was with it personally, because I think at their peak, the Undisputed Era was a good stable.
Yes.
I'm of the opinion that they became stale, in NXT and went on for like an additional year. And so, bringing them back in AEW feels like a retread. So like, I just like a lot of what they're doing isn't connecting for me, because it's like I was already over this like 2 to 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. But with that said, when it comes to this week's ending angle of Dynamite, look, man, I'm a sucker for hot run-ins from baby faces.
Yeah.
So Darby and Sting hitting the ring was cool. Sting just beating up like 6 guys. Like, I'm a caveman. If I see Sting just no-sell a chair shot and just hit people and they bump for it, like, yes, I'm gonna take my shirt off. Like, that's just what happens. So I'm like, yo, man, yeah, Sting fucking rules. Like, there's no think piece that's necessary with that. Like, it's very Neanderthal minded. Like, just give me Sting, no selling, and beating people up. And then I reacted like I was 7 because Kyle tried to Pillmanize his leg, and I'm like, no, you bastard, don't do it. And then he did it, and I was like, no, Kyle, you bastard. And so he did it, and I was like, no. And then it turned into Nitro because we just ran out of time, and that was it. And it was like,
it was a good angle. You're
fine.
actually right. Yeah, the actual angle itself, you're right to that. It was strong. I had an issue of like, and I said this earlier, like I had to rewatch the main event because when I was watching that thing live, I was like, man, this is really Adam Cole versus Jeff Hardy, Like I was on my phone, so I rewatched it. So that's my investment sometimes is. But you're right, it was a hell of an angle.
Like that.
Sting. Yeah. All right. Before we wrap up here, let's talk about the important stuff. Yeah, the important stuff. What is this promotion actually called? Like all bits aside, wrestling.
Is it called a Wrestling Entertainment Series?
That rules, man.
I think
the Wrestling Entertainment Series.
Wrestling Entertainment.
That's awesome. All right,
I think it is Wrestling Entertainment Series. The future of sports.
The future of sports.
I don't know
The
why
future is here. The future
I
of
don't know
sports
why-
entertainment is now. They're branding
Right.
it as sports entertainment as well, which
No,
is, you know.
it's very obviously just like this is like an alternate reality. Twin brother fed pilled AEW. This show. This show is the fed pilled all in. It's just literally the WWE cast offs that like, because when WWE casts people off, you know, most of them are like, well, I'm done with sports entertainment. I'm gonna be a fucking pro wrestler. I'm gonna fucking wrestle. But these are the guys.
Oh my god!
What happened?
See, looking at some of these ticket prices, I didn't really. Someone said in the mentions the other day that
they're insane, right?
that they were quite expensive.
Oh, yeah,
and
they're
for what it
nuts.
is, oh, it's crazy. VIP meet and greet. What's the guess?
I have no idea. I wouldn't pay more than $10 to meet Braun Strowman.
Yeah, but what about Reem?
Yeah, that kind of rules, to be fair. I was talking over him about what he's going to do at Braun Strowman.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Just-
320 pound.
Jesus Christ. Listen, man. For me,
my.
it's like most people when most wrestlers when they get cast off, it's like, oh man, F WWE, I'm gonna be a pro wrestler again, right? Even people that like are just guys. Like you guys remember Shane Thorne?
Yeah.
He made a video like you're Shane Thorne, bro. He made a video and he was just like it was like a fake retirement. He's like, I'm retiring from sports entertainment. And I'm like, there's such an obvious punchline here, you fucking hack. And he goes, but I'm back to being a pro wrestler. And I'm like, no one fucking cares, bro. Nobody wants to see you pro wrestler, bro. Like, who fucking cares? You're Shane Thorne. And so, it's funny with this promotion is just a bunch of guys who got casted off, but they clearly believe that the WWE way of doing things is the correct way of doing pro wrestling, which makes it so funny. Like this promotion, the idea of this whole promotion is hilarious to me. And even
Can we run through the card again?
Please, because ironically, as hilarious as the show is, and how as delusional as the people running it are for the prices and the venue that they're running, ironically, this show might rule. It might.
I've decided I'm going. I've decided I can't.
Fuck.
I have to be there for this.
This might be glorious.
Let's play a game, okay? Monty,
Yeah,
you read the match, and we'll lock in now a month ahead of time.
What, over under on the star rating or something? Like
yes, 100%. Let's do.
We'll start at the bottom. We'll start at the bottom.
Go ahead,
Let's
man.
do cage match rating, okay? We'll set the line and then we'll make our picks, right? Someone note this down because we're going to forget about it in about 2 hours. So go ahead.
I'm going to do it as a star rating accurate. Go ahead.
Okay.
Dirty Dango versus the former No Way Jose.
All right. The line has got to be at like
a star and a half.
Yeah, it's got to be star.
A star and a half.
I have seen Dango. I'm confidently taking under.
Bro, that matchup. It's like, what is this promotion, bro?
I think it could sneak a star.
Yeah, about a star.
A star.
Because Dango doesn't listen. He ain't trying hard, bro. Like he's chill. He ain't trying.
Wait, next up, looking at a match of the night contender. Mike Bennett versus Biff Busick.
That is unironically will be at least 3.5 with a 4.25 ceiling, depending on how.
God,
Jesus Christ!
Hear me out, people. Depending on how much time they have and how much Mike Bennett cares on this day, it could be a ripper, man. Bro, Biff Busick is ridiculous. Mike Bennett, he's competent, and with certain guys, he's really good. He really shocked me against Jonathan Gresham last year. They had a pay-per-view match last year.
Really good match.
That I thought was just tremendous. So 4.25 is probably a really high ball.
It's but pre-show too. How much time they're going to get on the pre-show?
So what it really
2.25.
I think genuinely, I think the actual line is 3 stars, and that would be the actual line if we were.
I'm gonna say this is gonna be real good.
Okay, wow, you're confident. Did you say like minimum 3.5? That fucking rules.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
I'll take the over, but only because Hollywood's convinced me this is going to be one of the matches of the year. So we'll
I'm going on that. I'm sticking with my 2.25.
Yeah. Right, fair.
Okay, so we got Mojo Rawley versus Lince Dorado.
1.5. Lions at 1.5.
Rules, bro.
That could be like, I'm thinking that might end up being half a star. That's gonna be.
I like Mojo, man. I hope he tries.
So do I. He seems like a cool guy and everything.
I'm going with 3/4 of a star.
Fair.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
This one's interesting. This one's interesting.
Okay.
Madison and Tenille versus Perazo and Green for the women's world tag team championship.
Madison Rain?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Wait, so Madison Rain and Tenille Dashwood against who?
Perazo, Deonna Perazo, and Chelsea Green.
Yeah, I got that about a half a star, maybe.
My God, I think this will be. I don't know. I haven't actually I've seen much. They're the tag champs in Impact, right? Am I imagining this, or are Tenille and Madison the champs? I'm pretty sure they're the champs.
I think they are. They
might have because of the inspiration recently left Impact about a month ago.
I legitimately, if I was setting the line, I would legitimately say it 2 stars. And I'm going to take the bold.
And Monty says I give charity.
I'm going the bold. This will come in at a 2 1/4. I'm taking the over, folks. Let's go for it.
This card is amazing, bro.
It is. Monty, what you got?
I think it will be about 1.75. 1 3/4.
You know what? Man. You know, it may have that really over ambitious women's tag layout that some matches have, where the performers aren't at the level, but you start seeing the outside dives and stuff like you see on NXT 2.0, for example, and then as the match crashes, as the match crosses, maybe as the match, Jesus Christ, as the match crosses the 2-star threshold, you start getting the WES chants, or WES. Why would you name it something that you can't chant smoothly, bro? That.
I don't know. Incredible stuff. All right, what we got next one?
We get into the real heavy hitters now. We got a triple threat match, and it is Killer Cross versus Samurai Del Sol.
Oh hell yeah!
Samurai Del Sol, should I say, versus Jonah.
Let's go, bro.
All right, not even doing a bit. The line is easily 3 stars. This could be good. I'm not even doing a bit. Now, will I like it? Absolutely not. But there's a very good chance this is rated well. Seriously.
Listen, man. Cross is going to do a manly suplex to Del Sol.
Yes.
He's going to fall out of the ring.
Yes.
He's going to have a stare down with Jonah that's meant to garner this really big pop. It's going to have a lukewarm reaction, and they're going to trade strikes, and it's going to be
Monty's going to be in attendance, brother. Monty's going to be there. It's going to get a huge reaction. He's going to have to stand up and see him on the hard cam.
Let's go, Killer. Let's go, Jonah.
I'm taking the under on that line, but I think it could be good, genuinely.
I also predict that at some point in this match, Jonah's going to give Cross a backdrop driver, and then on Twitter, he's going to quote tweet the GIF of this move and tweet some nerdy shit. He'll just tweet and be like, Dr. Death. It's all right.
Yeah, I think this is going to be 2.5 stars.
This match is going to be 3 1/4.
Yeah, I actually think this will be over 3 stars. Because the thing is, too, is they're going to try hard.
Yeah, they're going to try, bro. They're going to do suplexes, and Del Sol's going to do some ranas. What more can you want?
Yeah, I agree. This is a great time. Carry on.
World Tag Team Championship.
Oh, let's go.
Legion of Pain versus Blake and Macklin.
Brother, I'm saying it now. You can set whatever you want. I'm locking myself in at 4 1/4. Do not care. I don't know if you saw the 4 TV matches that Blake and Macklin worked as a tandem. They were fucking awesome, but unfortunately, they're in the midst of one of the worst acts fathomable with whatever they were called, the
Forgotten Sons.
Yes, I was going to say the Forbidden Sons. Sorry before. Macklin's really good, all bits aside, and Blake is he's got this crazy reputation. This will probably be good. All bits seriously, I think this will be good. It won't be 4 stars, but I think it'll be a good match.
I think they could squeeze a 3-star. It's their own show. It's probably going to go too long, or maybe not long, or maybe not long at all. It could just be a squash.
Have you heard Dax talk about Wesley Blake? He unironically is he's our Bobby Eaton, and Dax is not just saying that shit. He means it.
I like Macklin. Everything you said, I was second, man. It's just they just got caught up with a shitty gimmick, and obviously a shitty person as well. Who was
continues to just cement his legacy in that regard. So
well, there you go. So right. So next up, wow, we get to the headliners now. We have Nia Jax versus Lana.
Fucking awesome.
Oh my god!
I genuinely
for the women's world championship.
Bro, the line on this, like, genuinely has got to be half a star.
I'm gonna go with a dud.
Yeah, me too.
Or honestly, this may be like -5.
Right now, the part of that is because I think we all know the effort's going to be bad as well as like the actual.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like the signs of the Fed trying on TV anymore. It's like
Nia's not going to bump or sell really particularly well.
That fucking rules, though. I might give it a couple stars just for that.
True. You know for a fact there's going to be a my whole spot, which
many of them, yes, I'm sure.
It's just so funny, man. Like one of the problems with TNA at points in its history
would ironically be like definitely not good isn't the word, but it could just be like something that pops us.
Yes,
in the sense that it's like.
I think it's
this is what I want.
Nia's probably going to put Lana through a table.
Bro, this has big like.
This is what I've been waiting for months. I've wanted just a dog shit wrestling promotion that I could laugh at.
This is big like 80s WWF guys working their feud like 6 years later on the house show, on the indies. Now the difference is obviously this is only like a year later, but even still, it has those vibes.
It feels years later. Yeah, literally. And you know what's the biggest indicator of that? Because it's typically with people that don't do a lot of indies. So like it's like they barely give a shit. They just want a payday. So it's like let me just work the guy that I'm known for working against like a year ago or something.
Nia said she was done. She was like, I'm done wrestling.
Yes, but she'll take the check to work a lot. I'm telling you right now, listen, man, like I love this. Listen, years ago, Impact, TNA, one of the biggest problems were, instead of just being TNA, with all their unique wrestlers from the indies and the X division and all that, they were just in the shadow of WWE so bad to where they were like such little brothers. They would structure their storylines around WWE. They like Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan had promo segments where they were arguing over these made up Hall of Fame rings from WWE. Why should anybody care? And why should the Impact fans care? Right. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the big issues. It was like they're really just in the shadow of the Fed. And as bad as that was, it was always objectively a little funny. So to now get this promotion where this is literally just like it's like WWE leftover gumbo, like just put into a ball. And not even just like it's like some of the funniest and weirdest and quirkiest people from WWE that have been released, just thrown at you. I'm so ready for this show.
Yeah, it's gonna roll.
Well, the main event is let's get to it. Let's get to the real business.
I'm based on your mom's back. You call me based boy.
Can't even say what Reem said about wrestling.
Yeah.
No.
Right. So for the Wrestling Entertainment Series World Heavyweight Championship, Adam the Titan Shaw versus Alistair Overeem.
So,
what we're starting with, Joe?
Seriously, if Reem leads with a flying knee, this match immediately has a floor of 3 3/4.
I'm going to say this right now.
Go ahead.
Depending on the layout, this could be just one of the most badass wrestling matches of the year.
Yes.
I don't say this. I don't say this ironically. I mean this.
It could actually rule.
This could actually rule. Listen to me. Look, because 2 weeks ago I just rewatched Floyd Mayweather versus Big Show, and that match fucks.
That's awesome. Yes,
that match is awesome. Listen, all I need is Reem, right? Just shadow boxing and bobbing and weaving and pop, 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 right in the gut, right? Just pop, 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 right? I need Braun Strowman thinking he's like a shooter, just kind of stancing up like a boxer.
Yes.
Give me the knees. One of them do a really, really just filthy, disgusting, gruesome suplex. Give me over. You know what, man? You know what? I want Ryan Takayama. Yes. Listen, what if Adam Scher off rip power bombs this guy, right? And he no sells and just gets up and flips him off. I swear to God, I'm giving this 5 stars. Oh my goodness.
They're gonna use like, remember the kick he put Brock down with? He hit him with like the liver kick. Brock did that like delayed cell. Yes. Dude, he's gonna hit Braun with that kick, and like Nottingham, England is gonna just explode. Like it's gonna be incredible, man. You know, Aiden English on commentary screen about 2011 UFC, like popping. I can't wait. This genuinely, I think, will be fun. It could obviously be a complete disaster. That's part of the appeal.
No. This could be amazing, or like quite literally, like the worst match of the year. And I'm excited for both.
Yeah, it all depends.
Yeah, either way, it'll be entertaining.
Yeah. It's Overeem's mindset will decide. If Overeem's like gonna have fun with it, it could be legitimately exciting. If he's there to cash a check, this could be funny in the way you just referenced it. It's like the worst wrestling match ever. So we will see. Quite the range there, but
it's a good way to finish because
it is.
We have done our promotion very well.
Yeah. There you go. You can catch me on color commentary for that event, folks. I'll be having a hell of a time.
Yeah, man. I think unless we got anything more to add.
If I may, Monty, before I pass it to the great Hollywood Hangman Adam Pearson, plug his Twitter and such. Quickly before we bounce here, you can go to latenightgrin.com, and I'm going to be on the air in about 2 minutes over there with the Oracle of Wrestling, talk about God only knows what. So that's me, Hollywood. Put your Twitter over if you would like to. I know that Twitter is, quite the scene over there right now. If you would like them to follow you, tell them.
Yeah, were you keeping up with all this like as this podcast was going? Because like apparently
it got worse.
I'm checking my Twitter now, and like I'm like trending in the community, and apparently apparently like my quote, I have a side of the community like labeled, like there was a tweet that said I don't want to give it airtime, but someone basically said like stay away from the backup Hangman side of Twitter. I was like, I have a side of Twitter. Like I'm not, damn.
I'm just in this.
I have an avenue named after me, man. Like I thought
man tweeted, I'm in a podcast. What's going on?
Yeah,
I'm terribly sorry to announce that at Backup Hangman has just reached the Robert O'Neill stage of Twitter. That is a disastrous place to be, my friend. But nonetheless, promote yourself as you would like, pal. Go ahead.
Yeah. I want to take this time to say that Shawn Michaels, you are a war criminal for what you are doing to Braun Breaker. You are actively killing the aura and ruining my favorite young wrestler by putting him against, I kid you not, the dirt worst wrestling act right now. I know Monty says it's the I was about to say House of Torture. What are they called? Judgment Day? No, Gacy is 10 times worse than Judgment Day. I actively want to commit self-harm when this guy speaks, and he doesn't stop. He keeps going for minutes on end with 2 druids. Why does he have druids? What's happening? Anyway, follow me at Backup Hangman for tweets. Support WrestlePurists. I'm in the middle of reviewing old WrestleManias. So if you want to see some of that, I'll be going through some more probably tonight. We'll see. Nevertheless, thank you so much for the support. Thank you for having me. I apologize to everybody that I was late today. I'll try to be slightly less late next week. And yeah, Shawn Michaels, you need to be in jail.
Yeah.
On that note, Monty, take us home.
Yeah, man. Like and subscribe. Like, subscribe. At WrestlePurists on Twitter.
We cannot hear Monty anymore.
I thought my headphones.
Yeah, I was very confused then.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Yeah, okay, like and subscribe. As long as you do that, like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. Follow Hangman. Follow Joe Hulbert. Follow Late Night Grin. All these things. PW Musings as well. Hollywood is associated with those guys over there. They do great stuff. Yeah, man. Like, subscribe, and have a blessed day, everyone, and enjoy whatever else you're doing for the rest of the evening.
Keep grinning.